Good morning, little childblains, and we're now going on to our second week of spelling, and this week our sound is silent C. So we're going to identify, read, and spell words with the silent C letter pattern. Our success criteria: find and read words, explain the spelling rule, and correctly spell the words with silent C letter pattern. Okay, so get yourself a pencil because we're now going to do SpeedSpell. Okay, so we'll do this nice and quickly. Number 1, lesson. I enjoyed the lesson. Lesson. Number 2, common. We're learning our common words. Common. Number 3, stolen. Lock up your bike so that it's not stolen. Stolen. Number 4, button. That's a nice button on your cardigan. Button. Number 5, swollen. My ankle is swollen. And number 6, coupon. I saved the coupon. Coupon. Okay, and here are your answers. Okay, so let's look at the spelling rule. When SC is followed by an E, an I, or a Y, C is silent. So if you remember back, E, I, and Y, they soften a C sound. And often a G as well. So these are all examples in here that I've got an E after the C, although number 3, I don't know why it's there because it doesn't have an S in it. Anyway, we've got sent, scissors, face, seen, and ascend. Okay, so let's run through these words. Now, what we've got here, we don't have any green words. The words are quite difficult this week. They're only in 2 groups, which are orange and red. And there are actually 11 words in each, and there's only 4 common words this week. So let's run through them. Scent is just another word, a fancy word you could say for a smell. Usually a scent is nice, but not always. Sometimes we talk about animal scent. Seen is, it's not as in I have seen what's going on outside. It's more like a scene. For example, if you're in a shop and 2 people that you don't know are having a big fight, you might say that they're making a scene. They're embarrassing themselves. Septic means poisonous. Actually, there's a disease called sepsis, which is when poison gets into the blood and it goes around the whole body, and it can be quite dangerous, although it's very easy to treat. But if it's not treated, it can be quite dangerous. So septic just means poisonous. Ascend is to go up, and descend is to go down. You know what scissors are. I'm going to go back to ascend and descend quickly, just to tell you something that you might not know. So in the letter, say for the example, the letter B, we talk about a tall letter, and the bit that goes up to the top of the B is called an ascender. And that is the same for all tall letters. F's, D's, L's, and so on. The tall bit is called an ascender, and you can probably guess then that in a letter where there's bits hanging down, those are descenders. So in a Y or a G or a P, we've got a descender. Okay, a scythe is a tool that is used to cut down. It's an old-fashioned tool. It's not really used anymore to cut down wheat and barley in a field. However, if you have ever seen Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, or the new Bill and Ted film, which I know somebody's seen it, somebody's always seen it, I can't remember what it's called. There's a character called the Grim Reaper, and the Grim Reaper carries a scythe with him wherever he goes. Okay, science. Obscene means horrifying. Usually it's used for something that is very rude, especially very rude pictures. But it can mean, sometimes you talk about an obscene amount of money, which just means too much money. So yeah. Excuse me. But discern means to kind of work out something that's very difficult. I don't mean a sum, but for example, if you were in a court, if you were in a jury in a courtroom, you might have two people that are on the stand and they're telling opposite stories, and the job of the jury is to discern or to work out which one is telling the truth. And sometimes we talk about a person being discerning. That means that they're able to work out if somebody is a trustworthy person or not. Muscle, obviously that's part of your body. Muscle is orange and red, just so you know. They're otherwise we'd have had orange having 10 words and red having 11, and I thought I'll just throw muscle into both, and then we've both got 11. Okay, so crescent is a shape. It's a half moon shape. So sometimes talk about a crescent moon. And a croissant, which is a pastry which you've maybe had, gets its name from its shape. It's French for crescent. Scenario is a situation. It's people talk about worst case scenario when they're trying to work out what could go wrong. They could say worst case scenario is this happens, and they think, well, worst case scenario is not that bad, so let's do it. Scepter is a symbol of power, and so, for example, the Queen has a scepter, and when power is passed to Prince Charles, when he becomes king, he'll then have the scepter. Disciple is a follower, somebody who follows somebody else. Fascinate is interesting. Scientific means that you use a specific method for working something out. Scenery is what you can see all around you. Discipline, if you notice, discipline and disciple are almost the same. That is because the word discipline comes from a disciple. A disciple is only a good disciple if they're disciplined. That means that they follow the rules even if they're hard to follow. You might say, for example, you decide that you're not going to have any sugar for a month. Then you would have to be very disciplined about that. You wouldn't have any chocolate. You would have to read ingredients of things, because a lot of things add sugar. Somebody told me that McDonald's adds sugar to their chips. I don't know if that's true or not. They don't taste very sweet to me, but they almost certainly have sugar in their buns though. So if you were going to go without sugar, you couldn't have any McDonald's. I mean, all the drinks obviously have sugar in them, unless you have a tea or a coffee. Condescend. If you notice that the end of condescend has the word descend. So descend means to go down. To condescend means to go down to somebody else's level. And sometimes that's considered a good thing, but often it's considered a bad thing. Because if somebody condescends, it usually means that they think that the person they're talking to is of less value than them. So for example, although you're in P5, if I was to treat you as if you were in P1, and I was to say, right, boys and girls, when you're ready, sit in your seats. I'm trying to think of how might speak to you differently if you're in P1. So 1 add 1. Anybody know what 1 add 1 is? Obviously, you could use that as a joke, but if you were to do it on purpose, that would be considered condescending, and it's not actually a nice thing. Adolescent is somebody who's not a child but not an adult, sort of halfway between. You are not adolescents yet, but some of you probably have big brothers and sisters who are. And there's muscle again, meaning part of your body. Okay, let's have a quick look at our I realise I've made a mistake here. These are I'm just showing you this for the common words. The red one is wrong because it's missing muscle and it's got its twice, but muscle is on the previous slide, so you've got that. So there are only 4. It's, remember, it's with an apostrophe is short for it is. That's really important. Pull is the opposite of push. Eat and today. These are quite easy. Okay, if you've got any questions, let me know. Other than that, I hope you have a good week with these words.